Started with this wonderful conversation about our Masters of Science in Finance program. I am thrilled to be joined today by a number of wonderful panelists to help make this program come alive. And so I'd love to start by introducing them and myself, and then we'll dive into a really robust discussion. So to start, I am Emma Emmer. I am Executive Director of Strategic Programs here at Bentley University. And I would love, Florin, for you to start by introducing yourself.
My name is Florine Morrison. I'm, among other things, the director of the Master of Science in Finance program. I teach finance, especially derivatives, international finance, and sometimes investments.
Wonderful. And Pranav, I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Pranav. I studied Masters in Financial Analytics at Bentley. I graduated in 2023. I currently work at Rosepark Advisors as Senior Accounting Associate. Happy to talk to you guys.
Awesome. And Kyle, I would love for you to introduce yourself to the group.
Of course. Hello, everyone. I'm Kyle Mondino. I'm one of the senior assistant directors here at Bentley's Graduate Admissions Office. So I'm one of your key supports as you navigate your admissions and application processes.
Awesome. Well, now you know the dream team who's here on the line. And so I want to start us by orienting us a little bit to some key messages about the Masters of Science in Finance program. And really, what I want us to do is think about some of these key things that differentiate our program from others as you listen to a conversation between Florin and Pranav, because I do think they're going to tell us a lot of wonderful stories about the program. And sometimes we want to make sure we're connecting those stories back to some of these key messages. And so the first thing I want you to be listening out for is a lot of conversation about how here at Bentley, in the finance space, we really are thinking about how theory meets practice. What I mean by that is this is a highly applied degree. You're going to learn about the theory of derivatives, and Florin can tell you a lot more, and he's going to tell me why I'm wrong about using this as an example. But then you're going to be in the trading room, immediately applying what you're learning to that theory so that when you enter the workforce, you are ready to immediately take on work instead of just still being in a theoretical place and not being able to dive right in. That's our employers share with us that our students are able to hit the ground running because of that. Another reason I would say we have a lot of theory meeting practice here at Bentley is based on the makeup of our faculty. So you have faculty members like Florin who come from a industry background, although also a highly academic background. Florin can tell us more about that later, but that have worked in the industry and then come back to apply their industry knowledge within the classroom. We have other faculty members who have mostly spent their career in industry. They were CFO for 45 years and then come into the classroom to teach. And we have other faculty members who have spent their lives studying the academic side of finance and bring that knowledge into the classroom. So you're getting a really beautiful melding of theory and practice by virtue of the faculty you're intersecting with. You also are going to leverage a lot of advanced tools while you're here at Bentley and the tools of the trade, what our employers are telling us they are using. So Pranav, I know, was going to talk about how he actually worked in our trading room. So he not only did coursework there, but he actually worked there and therefore has lots of knowledge about Bloomberg terminals, which is exactly the industry standard of what is used. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll certainly spend time talking about our 4 tracks within the degree, some of which are STEM designated, some of which are not. So Florin can walk us through why we have these specializations to allow you to advance your career. And then we'll certainly spend a lot of time talking about employment and how Bentley's storied history in the finance world leads us to having incredible career outcomes for our students. Again, not as a spoiler alert, sorry, Pranav, to steal your stories, but his first job after Bentley was found because of the Bentley Career Fair and our connections to other employers. And so he can tell us a little more about that. The other thing I just want to point out in that kind of career space that I think is very important is that Bentley currently is ranked #1 in the US by the Financial Times for MSF degrees. We're always within the top handful. Certainly, it bounces around a little between one and two and maybe three, but certainly always seen as the top. And what I think is most important about this ranking, because often you say, oh, okay, cool, it's number one. What does that mean? This ranking in particular is really focused on alumni outcomes. So there's a focus on alumni salary increases. There's a focus on how many alumni are employed after 3 months after graduation. And I think we go back to that idea of Bentley's connections in the finance world because of where we're located, because of how long we've been doing this kind of teaching, how Bentley is viewed by employers. That's what leads to a ranking like this, and why our students really care about this ranking, because we're really able to support our students in their career paths. All right, that is way too much information from me. So now I want to dive into our panelists. And Florin, I'd love to start with you. And as I said, sometimes we say, oh, we're number one ranked in the US, and people are like, okay, well, what makes you different? I just talked about some of the career and alumni piece of that. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what you see makes our program differentiated from other MSF degrees and what makes it so successful for our graduates.
Would say, in addition to what you explained so well, I would say that we benefit from being so close to Boston. So Boston is a center of the so-called buy-side finance. We have the Fidelities of the world, the Wellingtons of the world. There are a lot of job opportunities in the area. Also, it's a good source of faculty, people who go into retirement or semi-retirement and decide to teach at Bentley. It makes sense. We are in the suburbs, very close to this institution. So that's a good source of faculty talent as well, in addition to potential jobs for our employees and internship opportunities. Moreover, we are within the sign inside the belt, the famous Route 128, which is known for startups and new technologies. And again, they also need people trained in finance to run their organizations. Again, it's a good source of internships and jobs. It's a big center of biotech, healthcare. Again, a source that needs people knowledgeable in finance. So I'd say that's kind of the elements that differentiate us. A good blend of academic strength and practical knowledge, direct knowledge that comes from industry, very good technology, very good resources. We are not that a big school. You still get personalized attention. The classes are small. You can interact very easily with teachers. We don't have the huge cohort classes. It's a school large enough, but also small enough to allow interaction with faculty. So I'd say that's a big gain. That's a big advantage for our school.
I totally agree, Florin. And I'm curious, Pranav, how that played out during your time. You graduated a couple years ago. If you could highlight a couple of features of your time here that you think had the biggest return on investment for you, or even were part of what made your decision to come here that did turn out to deliver. I'm curious what you would point to.
Yeah. So to give a little bit of background, I was an international student when I was making the decision. So I was particularly looking at STEM designated degrees. So in the US at that time, there were like 10, 12. What Bentley offered was a mix of good applied knowledge and the course selection. So I wanted to go at a university where I could use softwares like Bloomberg, FactSet, CapIQ. And I would say Bentley's training room is probably the best in the New England area that I have seen so far. And that was one of my main reasons also for selecting the program. Along with that, Bentley Investment Group. I was part of the Bentley Investment Group, which is basically an active portfolio which is managed by students. So I got to be an analyst in the first semester, then eventually I got to be a portfolio manager. So things like that, where you get to experience real things, where you're making decisions which really impact people, and then again working as a trading room analyst. So that also helped me because that was my first job in the States. Bentley offered me that, and that gave me an idea as to how things work here. So that gave me a confidence, which eventually also boosted my career starting.
That's awesome. And Pranav, I want to go a little further into
Yeah,
that, and then I'll come to you, Florin, to broaden us back out. Talk to us a little bit about that applied experience. So you're talking about your experience in the training room. I'd
yeah,
love for you to talk about that both from your kind of position perspective, but
yeah,
also from the classroom and
yeah.
how those two things prepared you, as you were saying, both for entry into the US workforce, but also for just your job in general.
Yeah. So softwares like Bloomberg, Capital IQ, FactSet, these are softwares which retail individuals cannot like work on. So you got to work them at big institutions, and Bentley offers that opportunity to you. So whenever you're using softwares like Bloomberg, you need some people to guide you because those are not that easy softwares that you can learn on your own. So it was always helpful to be in the training room. And then the best thing about the Bentley University is like the classes that I used to take, every professor used to gave us an assignment which was based on Bloomberg and FactSet. So you got to learn how to use those. And when I apply that in today's world, so every company would have different software. Some might have Bloomberg, some might have Capital IQ. You got PitchBook, which is based on private equity. I use PitchBook more often these days since I work in private equity side of deals right now. But those experiences does give you confidence to use the softwares, and that the more softwares you know from a finance perspective, it's better. So that was really helpful.
Lauren, I'm curious. So I love how Pranav is sharing with us the kind of application of bringing these software into the classroom, meaning he feels confidence in order to use it in his professional career. I'm curious, as program director, tell us a little bit about why Bentley does this. Why do we bring kind of this applied learning into the classroom? And if you could give an example, I know you choose to teach in the training room. Help us understand why. Why are you choosing to teach derivatives from that space?
Yeah, I can explain that. I mean, this has been a long plan of Bentley. This goes way back when Jay, the chair department, was a young professor who worked hard to actually um, make this trading room. And it was with the support of great names like Peter Lynch from Fidelity, legends in the industry. So it has a long story. It's an example of long-term thinking, and of course, um, we now reap the benefits of that effort, which was sustained over the years. Why it makes sense to have this type of trading room and know this technology. I come from the industry, right? And I know that when somebody thinks of hiring somebody fresh out of school, of course they ask those soft questions. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, and this and that, and leadership skills and whatnot? But I'm telling you, back in their mind is the following question. I have that project starting in 2 or 3 weeks. Can this person
Mhm.
help me or not? Right. And it's very easy to know, to see, to spot, especially if you are in the industry, if somebody is comfortable doing Bloomberg, doing FactSet. If you get the impression that this person is going to hit the ground running, it's in, right?
Right.
You want also that person to have the technical skills. You also want that person to have common sense, industry common sense, right? And yes, you may be very good, have read all the books, knows all the formulas, right? But let's say if the interviewer is asking you, so where are the rates today? It's a fair question. Or what do you think about the markets today? And you give the impression that this is a trivia question. Why are you asking me about rates? In all the problem sets I had in class, the teacher would give me interest rate is R 5%. Just go and apply the formulas and do the calculation. And if the interviewer feels that you believe this is a question beneath you, I'm telling you what goes in his or her mind, because it happened to me. The attitude is, dude, I do not sleep at night because of these interest rates. And you come
Right.
to me and give me this attitude at this trivia. I don't want you in my team. That's it. I'm going to find somebody else. So that's what you get. You get this practical, down to earth knowledge. You are in the middle of things. If you are in Bentley Investment Group, you are among students interacting with each other. This becomes questions like what color is snow? Of course, it's white, right? If you don't know that's white, that's something wrong with you. I don't want you in my team, right?
Right.
So that's how it happens. And it's part of class activity, teaching, very rigorous teaching, but it's also because of exposure to all the resources we have in the trading room, the
Mm,
resources we have through the library. I mean, here, Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, The Economist. I mean, Bloomberg.com, not this heavy hitters version. I'm trying to push the library to introduce also Barron's, which is a sister publication of Wall Street Journal. That's how you get the gist.
mm.
Sometimes I teach at night, and after I finish teaching in the trading room, I stay for an hour or so to do different things to wrap up the day. And around 9 o'clock, outside my office in the trading room, there is a bunch of students debating energy stocks. That's when their section meets. And there's no teacher in there. They're just debating, making presentations, bring alumni. At a certain night, there were some parents also too. I mean, it shows that they are having fun at the same time learning things. So it's a really good thing having this trading room and all the other resources in addition to the experienced academics and professionals we have in the faculty.
It makes complete sense to me. And Pranav, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit. You mentioned you were part of the Bentley Investment Group, which I know is one of the groups that's what, as Florin's describing, is sitting and debating kind of
Yeah.
what is happening in different parts of the market. I'm curious if you could tell us a little bit about what that is, what your experience was like with that, and why was it important to be engaged in that while you were here?
Yeah. So, like I said, Bentley Investment Group is like an active management fund, which is totally decided by the students. At that time, Professor Chinka used to be the one who used to be the faculty member, just making sure everything the students are doing is just right. So he's just like an observer on the board, but all of the decisions are made by the students. To give you an idea, I started attending them. So you got like positions like analyst. You in the first semester, you got to observe it because you don't know exactly how things work. So you just observe things, and every Wednesday during that time we used to meet, and every Wednesday each sector gets a chance to present their idea. So I used to work for communications sector. So for example, on Wednesday we are going to pitch Google to be included in the Bentley's investment portfolio. So for that you got to prepare all the slides, you got to prepare a full deck, you got to prepare the buy side, sell side, what your indications are, why do you believe Google might be a good pick, and what are your targets, and you got to prepare discounted cash flow. And after that you got to present that in front of 60 to 100 people. So that gives you a whole boost of confidence, and it's not just presentation. After that, everyone literally grills you on why do you think that Google needs to be included in the portfolio. So that's basically like just an active interview or even an active opportunity where you will be doing that same thing in the job, presenting people about buy side of things, why you believe in a particular stock. So that definitely helped me. And after like 6 or 9 months, I was promoted to become the portfolio manager. So I used to, guide the next bunch of students. And each sector used to have like 30, 35 students, weekly meetings, like professor said. So that was a really good experience.
Wonderful. So let's go back to the classroom. Florin, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about specialization within this degree. I know one of the ways that Bentley has really been responding to where the market is going and where the field is going is by ensuring that all of our programs are aligned kind of with the newest technology, the newest opportunities within the field. And so I'd love for you to talk about the 4 tracks that students can select from in the program and how we've modeled those to really match what the field is looking for.
Well, we have the classic uh, Master of Science in Finance, which is the basic track. And again, students can modulate a little bit there. the classes they're taking. They could go towards capital markets, they could go through corporate finance. So this is the basic one. We have one which is more mathematically oriented, also happens to be STEM, has a good blend of computer science and quantitative research, enough to be designated as a STEM, and there are advantages of being STEM for international students. So this have been around for a long time. Over the last couple of years, we introduced two other, which is one is finance and technology, because that's where the industry seems to be going. Again, also STEM designated. It has specific fintech, finance and technology classes. We have a very good faculty in the department, also have faculty, highly qualified, world-renowned faculty in the computer science department. So we are looking forward for sustainable growth in this track. It's going to officially launch in the fall. It's also, everything is done. We're ready to officially launch it. And we have financial planning and wealth management. You'd say this is kind of an old school. It's totally the opposite of high tech and whatnot. But actually, there is a demand for a wealth manager. In this world where AI seems to be taking over anything, people are still preferring talking to a human being and getting the advice. We hope that through this four tracks, we can capture the wide diversity of interest and backgrounds of our students and our potential candidates. In a sense, Wall Street is quite diverse in terms of the background of people that are coming in. If you are really good at number crunching, that's where you're doing. You can go into quantitative risk management. You can go into financial analytics. You can go into fintech, and we'll let you do that. There are plenty of classes you can take. Even if you start in the regular MSF and all of a sudden you start to like those quantitative classes, there is enough flexibility. We'll let you drift into that track. If you're somebody who is more people-oriented, has a lot of general knowledge, maybe you want to be a financial advisor. In the end, I mean, investment is a liberal arts thing. There is a lot of quantitative work, there is a lot of number crunching, but in the end, you have to integrate so many things that are going around in the world that it becomes a liberal arts endeavor. Again, some of our students have no idea. They know that in general they want to go to finance, and they don't know exactly what they want to do. And we have enough flexibility. The school is small enough. We can arrange things such they can switch track and go into a direction through which they feel better qualified. I mean, there are many jobs you can have in finance. You read about this branch of finance, the investment bankers are making that much money. I want to join. That's not a good idea. You want to go into an area where that better fits your personality and your set of knowledge and your background, and you're going to raise there. You don't have to go into the area where you read somewhere that's this most of the money are made. You can be successful in any field if it fits your background.
Absolutely. And Florin, I think that's exactly right. What we're noticing as we've expanded the specializations that we offer is exactly as you said, students are able to notice what their strengths are or what their interests are and position themselves within the field. And I know that you as program director are also incredibly supportive of students in figuring that out. And so if students enter and they say, hey, I think this is what I'm interested in, but as they understand the field better, they say, oh gosh, no, that is not the right space for me. You're very supportive in helping them figure out what that looks like, both from a coursework perspective, but also from a career perspective. And so Pranav, I'm curious, how did you choose to specialize? My recollection is that you focused on financial analytics, but why? Why did you make that selection? And how did that support you in navigating your transition out of Bentley?
Yeah. So right now, like what Professor said, like properly, you should be going for an analytics or anything which involves a blend of technology. Like that was my decision because the world is rapidly changing with the invention of AI. We are just like every 6 months there's an evolution, and that the analytics side was offering courses like Python, R, which are most of the times needed in your practical work experience. Coding experiences like SQL is also needed. So that was one of my core decisions. The other decision was like I'm an international student, so the STEM designated degree gave me a competitive edge and allowed me 2 more years on my visa. So that was also one of the decisions that I was thinking about. And I think a STEM degree, not just in the US, but anywhere in the world, gives you a competitive edge since it's a mix of finance, analytics, mathematics, and that's really a good choice for me. That was a really good choice for me. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's spend a little time talking about faculty, and then I want to talk about kind of the career piece of all of this. Pranav, I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about your relationship with faculty members here at Bentley. Did did any of those relationships particularly stand out, and why do you see them as beneficial?
Yeah, definitely. One of the faculties that I really liked working for was like Professor Alan Chinka, who was also there at Bentley Investment Group. I took two of his classes, which were portfolio management, I think, and the other one was quantitative portfolio management, which was the best class that I took in the entire master's program. That came because the course was from start to end based on a portfolio management project, which is like basically simulating what happens in the industry. So you got to explain
Professor
every
Chinka was a portfolio manager, right?
There you
And
go.
before coming to Bentley's, of
exactly.
course.
So yeah, and he used to like the way the class used to start was like he used to bring, like Professor said, like he used to bring out a Bloomberg article. So today, why the oil price is down? So you're linking everything to what's happening in the industry, and that's very important in the field of finance. Like Professor said, in interviews you get asked random questions like what's happening in the economy right now, how does tariff impact businesses. So you got to have an outlook on how things work in the businesses. That's really helpful in interviews, and not just for the interviews, it's also helpful to self-evaluate like where do you want to go in the field of finance, because like there are different ways where you can go. I'm someone who likes to read about portfolios. I'm someone who likes to read about companies, how businesses are doing. And I used to always talk to him, and he's really a good big soccer fan. So we used to also talk to him about soccer. So we had a really friendly relationship with him as well. And I think like a month ago, I also texted him. I just wanted to meet him just to connect with him because he was really a good candidate, good professor, and he also helped me with my. So I when I was working at my previous organization, he also helped me pivot my path to a different because I wanted to go more towards the finance side, and my first role was a mix of accounting and finance. So he also guided me insights on that. So that was definitely helpful. And Professor Florian Morrison was also really helpful. He helped me during my internship search. He helped me making my course selection. I was able to, intern at a company for almost 3 semesters. So for that, you need approvals from all of the head faculty, which Bentley usually is very good and very flexible at. So that was definitely a big plus for me as well.
Florin did pay Pranav to say that he was helpful. So just in
Yep.
case anyone's wondering. No, I'm kidding. I'm just pulling your leg.
No.
Lauren, I'm curious. You started actually by talking about how Bentley benefits from the faculty side from our location. That because we have so many financial institutions in our area, we have many that are interested in coming and teaching as part of kind of their career and their professional journey. I'm curious if you could expand on that and the kind of experiences that students might get. Professor Chinka being a perfect example of someone who had a long career in the portfolio management space, and then Pranav was able to benefit from that in the classroom. Help us understand what that looks like outside of that specific relationship.
Half of the faculty comes directly from the industry. In the half faculty teaching in the MSF program, and as I said, we are close to the big institutions, close to Boston, which is a hub of mutual fund, investment funds, hedge funds. Sometimes people retire. We actually have both on the also on the undergrad side. We have two retired portfolio managers from Fidelity who also happen to be Bentley alumni, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's like you go to that class, it's like learning baseball from some retired Red Sox player because these are the best you have in the in the industry. So and also you have this advantage where somewhat in the suburbs, right? So you don't want to commute all the way to Boston. If you live in the suburbs, okay, you commute somewhere in the else in the suburbs, teach your class, interact with students, um, and have a meaningful retirement from this point of view. Yeah. So it's it's a big advantage. Position location is important for any business, so it helped us thrive. I mean, even the founding of the school
Totally.
more than 100 years ago, it was Mr. Bentley who was doing accounting and teaching people around Boston accounting, and it emerged as a full-blown university as we have today.
That's right. And so, Florin, I think you were just talking about our location as a benefit for faculty. I want to talk about our location as a benefit for employment for our graduates. Obviously, not all students stay in this area. We have students that go nationally and internationally after graduation in order to find the employment that they're looking for. But I would love for you to talk a little bit about how you see our relationships benefiting our students, whether that's on the internship side, whether that's on the employment side, and anything else you'd add to how Bentley is making sure our students are successful after their graduation.
We have a great career office, nationally recognized. So, yes, they help you with making the connection. But I think it's also useful. And again, reaching out through connection, it always works. But also, finding a job is a matter of statistics, right? You spread your resumes, but then when the fish bites, you have to be able to reel it in, right?
Mhm.
Right? And what we teach you in class by having this practical, down to earth understanding of finance is that you can reel the fish in. So getting invited to an interview to a certain matter is also pure statistics, right? But when you get in to make a good impression and show a degree of maturity, in addition to some broad knowledge of finance, be able to strike a discussion with a potential employer and show that you make sense in their team, it's the greatest thing we could do for someone's career. We when we encourage you to the students to uh, read Financial Times, read Wall Street Journal, Barron's, Economist. That's what they listen to Bloomberg Surveillance, and everything else. That's what potential employers are reading too, right? If you read the same thing that your potential employer is reading, if you are tuned to the same, of course you're going to sound like somebody who belongs. You are able to talk shop with your employer right there in, and you go over those very quickly over those silly questions, and you start talking about what's going on in the industry and whatnot. That's the best way of of locking in that job, that offer.
Absolutely. So, Pranav, I'd love for you to tell the story of how you landed not only your first job, but now your second job post graduation. And how did Bentley's resources support you in getting there?
Yeah, so my first job was right due to the career fair. So I arrived in Bentley in 2021. So if you remember, like that was just during the COVID time. So the first career fair that did was a virtual one on Hatchet because there were some meeting protocols that you could not meet in person. But that definitely helped me because I was able to land internship at Standish Management, and the employer was a like I think she was a 2009 graduate from Bentley University. So we connected instantly, and that was a really good wrap up. So and after that, I would say Standish Management has like hired 10 plus people from Bentley. So like the employers start coming back if they get a good experience. And a lot of my friends they work at institutions like Professor said. Many of the big corporations are established in Boston, and that definitely helps. For example, State Street, Standish Management, these are the kind of employers that usually definitely want Bentley students because they usually hire hundreds of people, and out of that, they definitely want a mix from all of the colleges, and Bentley definitely is on top of their list. My job switch right now was also a really like Bentley definitely helped me because my previous learning experience did help me because this role is kind of a mix of accounting and valuation. So you got to understand how things work, how finances work, how private equity especially work. And my previous work experience also helped me with that. So Bentley definitely is a good name to have on your resume, and employers are definitely looking at that as a big plus sign. And to add more to that, Bentley is really, really known for finance and accounting. So if you say you're from Bentley, they're like, oh well, you have a good knowledge of accounting and finance. And that definitely pushes you much higher. And then afterwards, and all on you how you prepare for the interview and how things plan out.
Awesome. So we've spent a lot of time talking about why you might choose Bentley, what it's like in our classrooms, what our faculty is like, how Bentley supports you in your career search. So I am certain that everyone on the line, the next question is, now how do I apply? In fact, we have it in the Q&A is, what are your application requirements and what does that look like? And so Kyle, I would love for you to walk us through our application process, our deadlines, and how people should be thinking about joining us here at Bentley.
Yeah, absolutely. So we use a system called Business Cast to host our application. We've tried to really streamline it to make it easier for candidates, but also help you through the application process. And so these are some of the things that we're looking for. As a business school, one of the key things we'd like to see is your resume. We want to understand your experience. Our Master's of Science in Finance program doesn't require professional work experience, but we do like to see what you've been doing to prepare for your career. We also like to see your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is a wonderful resource, especially in the US market, for networking and finding opportunities. And so that gives us another insight into kind of your business presence. We do require one letter of recommendation. We prefer it to come from either an academic, like a professor or a mentor, or a supervisor or manager from a professional standpoint. We accept both. We have no preference. Usually we say select the one that's most appropriate. So if you've been working for some time, probably a professional recommendation. If you're a recent graduate, probably an academic recommendation. We just ask no friends or family, please. There's one essay requirement. Within the application, you will be provided a couple of essay prompts you can select from. Choose the one you like best. We are looking for effective business communication. So we are a business school. You don't need to break out the thesaurus. You don't need to, write a 10-page report. Can you convey your thoughts effectively? That is what's going to help you be successful in your career. We also ask that you not use AI. We know AI is a powerful tool. We know it's a great resource, but we are trying to gauge your capability, not AI's capability. There's also the option for a personal statement. I usually always say the personal statement is a wonderful opportunity for you to add additional information to the application. So this could be contextual information. Maybe you had a bad semester and you'd like to explain what happened and how you've addressed it to be more successful. Or maybe you've had unique experiences that you would like to share. So personal statement is a really great opportunity to provide new information, to expand on the things that you would like considered. I do recommend trying to resist using like a generic personal statement that you might use for many, many universities. It usually is quite obvious, and oftentimes students will duplicate information both in the required essay and statement of purpose. So if you don't want to do both, just focus on the required essay and just make it as best you can. We are GMAT GRE optional, so it is not required to be admitted to our programs, but it can be a nice way to elevate your profile or to compensate for a potentially weaker area of your application. So if you didn't do as well as you would have liked academically, submitting a strong GMAT or GRE score can help to alleviate that concern. For our international candidates, there is an English language test requirement. We accept pretty much all the major exams, so TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, Pearson. There is also waiver options. So if you've completed your entire degree in English, there's opportunities to waive that. There's a few others. Within the application, they'll have that question. You can look at what the waiver opportunities are. And then we do require a copy of all of your transcripts. If you've completed your education outside of the US, we also require a NACES member course-by-course transcript evaluation for the US. These are organizations that professionally evaluate transcripts. They look at everything from academic rigor to university accreditation to cultural differences, and then they convert those educational credentials over to the recipient system, in this case, the US. So financing your education, I know this is an important topic for a lot of candidates, and we do want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. We know that education is an investment. It's an investment that shows returns, something we talked about earlier, that our graduates get good job opportunities and salary growth, but it is something you still have to navigate. One of the ways we help our students navigate that is through our Merit Aid Scholarship. We try to give scholarship to as many students as we can. About 85% or more of students will receive some form of scholarship. The ranges vary. It is really a holistic review based on our candidate's profile. Averages change per year, and they're unique to you as a candidate. And so we always recommend that candidates submit their application. There's a lot of different ways that you can submit your application for free. We will often either provide codes to waive the application fee, or we run promotions. So there's no real cost to you to find out where you fall in terms of scholarship. And then other ways to fund your education too. We often encourage, look at grant programs. Some countries have different grant programs for their government. Some of their companies offer different reimbursement or tuition remission programs. And then, of course, last case scenario, student loans. Because again, education is an investment. It's an investment to increase your overall growth throughout your career. So those are some of the ways we encourage to look into funding your education. And then lastly, application deadlines. The exciting part about Bentley is we have pretty lengthy application deadlines. We usually start recruiting about a year out. And so our applications usually open in August. And then for the spring intake, they run about 6 months. And then the fall intake runs about a year. We do have multiple rounds. You are encouraged to apply as early as you can. Reason being is we do have capacity. Programs do fill up. There are limits on scholarship budget. And so the earlier you apply, you're increasing your likelihood to be eligible for those types of opportunities. With that said, it is a fairly robust intake period. I would refer to our graduate deadlines webpage for the exact dates, but basically we do 3 rounds, then we go into rolling admissions. The really important dates to keep in mind are the final deadlines. There's not a lot of flexibility with these deadlines, so you want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough time to submit a fully completed application before then. For international students, that deadline is June 1st. And again, the application has to be fully completed, so you can't be missing any documents. It's also important to keep in mind that unless you are already in the US, the immigration process can take some time. It can be quite lengthy. And so you want to make sure that you're giving your time to get all of those documents you need to get your I-20 issued, that you have time to do your interview, that you have time to plan for the move to the US. And so earlier is always better, especially for international candidates. And then for domestic candidates, we can actually review and accept applications up till August 1st. Again, you want to try and give yourself time so you're not having to hastily run through everything, and that you have opportunities to register for the classes that you're looking for. But there is some flexibility there in terms of timeline. So if you have any questions on that, definitely reach out to us. We have a wonderful admissions team that can answer questions about the application, about the experience here at Bentley. There's a fair amount of us that are also students or have been students at Bentley too, so we can speak directly from the lived experience. But then we also have a team of graduate ambassadors that are current students, typically from all over the world and all of the different programs we offer, that can share, their experience navigating through everything, what it has been like here at Bentley, networking, all of that type of stuff. So don't hesitate to connect with us. We'd love to have a conversation.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle. And I want to close us out by just highlighting some of the amazing things that Florin and Pranav have shared. We've talked a lot about the classroom and the applied practice and how important applied practice is, not only from a pedagogical perspective, meaning from kind of your academic and learning perspective, but how much that sets you up for an impressive employment process. As Florin said, our program is really designed to prepare you to be someone who employers could look at and say, yes, I could see that person joining my team in 2 weeks and actually benefiting the team as an early career employee. And so I think we've spent a lot of time there. We've spent a lot of time on this really amazing faculty that we have teaching here, both those that have studied finance and are academics in the space, and those that come from industry and can apply their practice to experiential learning for our students. We've talked a lot about the employment process and why employers tend to really appreciate hiring Bentley alums. As Pranav shared, we have many employers who year after year come to Bentley specifically looking for our students for all of the reasons we just described. I would love to end by asking Florin if there's any last kind of thoughts or advice you have for folks considering our program that you'd like to share.
I would say that don't assume that if you are not very strong in math, you would not fit in
Mm.
finance. There are many ways in which you can contribute. Practically, if you are good with people, it could try to good knowledge of the world. You're passionate by the how the world functions, and you want to relate to people. You could make a great wealth advisor. If you are somebody who is very wants always to have their ducks in a row, maybe you could make a great risk manager, or not on the quantitative side, the number crunching, but on the regulatory and compliance side. So it's finance is a strange discipline that brings in people from all walks of life, and you could be quite successful. So give it a try.
Awesome. I agree. I think you should give it a try. And some ways that I want you to keep thinking about Bentley. So as Kyle said, we very legitimately want to stay in touch with you. Florin shared early, and Pranav really made this come to life. Bentley is a place where you have access to a large swath of people, meaning it's not so small that you can't be in the Bentley investment group and present in front of 100 people. You can, but it also isn't so big that we don't get to know you. And Bentley is a place where you will be known as an individual and your faculty members will know you. As Pranav said, he's 3 years out and he's texting Professor Chinka to get in touch and hang out. And that is true for our admissions process as much as it is for your time here. And so, as Kyle said, before your application process, I hope you'll be in touch with us and share who you are, share what you're thinking about, and share your curiosities. One of the best ways to do that is using this second QR code to set up a consultation with our admissions team. That is a wonderful way for us to get to know you. Another thing I'm going to suggest to this group is using this third QR code to check us out on YouTube. And the reason for that is we have a number of sample courses on our YouTube channel that could introduce you. I think, Florin, we have some that you've taught and some from others, what the classroom might feel like or the kind of ideas that we're grappling with here at Bentley. So I think that is a wonderful opportunity. There's also other sessions like this with other alums or current students that might be something you're curious about. So I hope you'll keep digging into what it looks like to be a student here at Bentley through all of these different methodologies. I hope you get in touch with us to let us know your curiosities. And then I will end by thanking Florin and Pranav so very much for joining us today, sharing about this program. Pranav, particularly sharing about your story and helping us make this program come alive. I wish everyone a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Thank you. Have a good day.